There's a few genres that don't really work for the videos I make. Nothing against them, but for the amount of visual novels and idle games which exist on itch.io, most of them are made with love and competence, but it's hard to talk about them. You can't really talk about a visual novel for 7-ish minutes unless it's just a summary, and most idle games don't really need to have someone talk at length about how number go up mechanics work. But of all the genres out there, I never thought I would be covering a match-based puzzler. Slime Soup is a game developed by Pierre Vandermaesen. The game is currently only a demo, but there is already enough content for several playthroughs. You play as a chef in this beautiful kitchen, serving up the highest quality slop to goblins, witches, and various other creatures of the night, with your big old pot of slimes. You do this by matching slimes of the same color to merge them so that you can score points which go towards feeding your customers. Make a slime big enough, as represented by the number of eyes they have, and the slime will explode, netting you more points. Feed all 3 customers or run out of turns as indicated by the number on the slop pulley, and you're done with the level. The last customer will always have a special effect on your pot and be harder to please than the first 2 customers. But aside from that, the basic gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. Of course, where would we be as a society without the ability to add roguelike elements to our works of art? Rather than abiding by any sort of grid system that you might find in other match puzzlers, the various objects in your cauldron obey the laws of gravity and buoyancy. This becomes important for making sure the slimes of the same color are close by, as the connection between them must be uninterrupted and short. The physics can also become an issue for you if you make an explosion that is set to knock slimes out of the pot, losing those slimes for your soup. If you want to add or take away from the pot, you have the cockroach and the tins which the customers bring into the shop. The cockroach will, for a fee, remove different objects such as rocks, which do nothing, mold, which are slimes that can spread, unwanted slimes, or utensils from your pot. This is useful because you have both a limited amount of utensils and objects in your pot in general, as displayed up at the top. Depending on the item, the cockroach will either give you money or charge for the removal of items. The cans are brought by customers you feed. And once they're satisfied, they will bring the cans with them, earning you money. However, you can forfeit this money to add more objects to the cauldron for you to make matches with. I really like the use of trade-offs here. Rather than a trade-off based in the lesser of 2 punishments, the game is offering you one of 2 rewards. This isn't revolutionary gameplay design, but it's nice when roguelike elements work with the player instead of feeling like you're playing a game with that one kid on the schoolyard whose superpower is that he's immortal and can kill anyone just by looking at them. Between the rounds, you are taken to a shop to purchase various passive and active upgrades. Check it off your roguelike bingo cards. There are over 100 different upgrades to work with, and that's only in the utensil category, so I'm just going to break the categories of different types of upgrades down. There are utensils, which are items that go into the pot with various different types of effects. There are fuels, which usually change the number of points that different types of slimes are worth. There are stickers, which are passives, which you can only have one of. There are bottles, which function like cans, only they cost money and usually contain better items. And there are sauce packets, which apply various different effects to an area in your cauldron. This is normally the part where I tick off another box on my bingo card and say that there's one build which breaks the game. But even if there were, the game, and I can't believe I'm saying this sentence, makes really good use of a loot box system. Rather than being given a spread of items to choose from, you're given several categories to essentially buy into, and from there you are allowed to pick an item for free out of a small collection. There is a bin which is cheaper than all the other items initially, but grows in cost every time you use it in the same shop instance. This bin contains a completely random spread. This shop system is fantastic, and I hope I see more games in the future which use a similar model. For non-premium based currency shops, that is. I hope all of their loot boxes are wiped from the face of the earth. This is as good a time as any to gush about the art for this game. I love this game's character design. I am a sucker for a good goblin, and this game had me covered from minute 1 and just kept on going. The other highlight is the little rat merchant. I feel like he's a reference to something with the pose, so if you know what that is and I've missed something obvious, be sure to sound off in the comments. The game has 8 rounds in total, and after every round, you are given a review on the goblin equivalent of the internet. If you get bad enough reviews for your eatery, you lose. But manage to survive to the end of those 8 days, and you'll be rewarded with Endless Mode, or the ability to use a harder pot. I definitely appreciated this because initially the one complaint I had about the game was that I thought that the first 8 rounds were a little easy, but Endless Mode keeps on ramping the difficulty up. I haven't gone back to try either of the other pots yet, but I think the fact that all of this is just the demo for the game makes it worth wishlisting on Steam for sure, or at the very least, checking out for yourself. Thanks for watching. I know I literally just said it, but if this project looked interesting to you at all, then be sure to give it a try, and if you end up enjoying it, definitely wishlist it on Steam, because it's a really cool project, and I'm excited to see what gets added to the game as time goes on. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I'm always on the lookout for free projects on itch.io, so if you enjoy indie games or free things, then I think you'll enjoy my channel. Otherwise, I always really appreciate a comment. Does this game remind you of any other games you've played? Be sure to let me know. Happy Friday.